Good morning, our presenters and participants. Welcome to the Virtual Việt Teacher International Convention 2021. We are Nguyễn Thành Luân and Nguyễn Minh Ngọc as the presentation moderators. Before the presentation, there are few considerations in case you have any questions or concerns about the presentation. Please feel free to leave them in the chat box so that we can gather the questions for easy response in the 5 to 10 minutes Q&A session. Now we gladly welcome Mr. Ngo Cong Lem in this session, which is entitled Professional Development for Vietnamese EFL Teachers, Overview, Themes, and Implications. About our presenter, Ngo Cong Lem is a lecturer at Đà Lạt University in Vietnam and currently PhD candidate at the Faculty of Education, Monash University, Australia. His research interests in both teacher and technology, teacher development, and cultural historical theory. Please welcome.
All right. Thank you, Miss Ngọc. All right. So I'm going to share my screen.
Yep.
All right, so hopefully you all see my screen. So again, thank you very much for being here in the presentation. That's good morning from Vietnam, but it is good afternoon in Melbourne for now. All right, so before I start, just to remind that my name is Ngo Cong Lem and I'm currently a PhD student at Monash University. So in the next 20 minutes, I'll be talking about some preliminary findings from a review, the systematic review that I conducted about the professional development research for Vietnamese EFL teachers in Vietnam. So in this review, we'll talk about the overview, the common themes, and then the implication for the researcher and education in Vietnam in general. But before I start again, I think I should say that I know many of the audience are experts in professional development. So I think please take this presentation as an open discussion for later. We can together discuss what it is and what are the futures, what are the feedback that you may have for my presentation and so on. All right, so let's start. So for the presentation, it is divided into 4 parts. I'll start by talking about the introduction, and then the method of my review, some of the key findings, and finally the conclusions in my presentation. So for introduction, I like to start by examining the key term in the titles of the presentation, that is teacher professional development. Now let's first focus on the term professional development, or we would start with the what. So what is professional development? So we have different understanding of professional development, but one of the definition is that professional development is structure professional learning that results in changes to teacher knowledge and practices and improvements in student learning outcomes. So I like to highlight that professional development means structure professional learning. In other words, we can understand that professional learning is a more general term, and professional development is some sort of structure, like a course or formal interventions that help the teachers to develop the competencies. So professional learning is a more general term in the context of this presentation. And I will be using the term professional learning in that sense. Also, the second question we'll ask ourselves is why professional development for teacher. So I think it's pretty common sense, and it's so popular that we all understand that teacher needs professional development to enhance their teaching effectiveness and instructional quality, right? And also, once a teacher can improve their teaching quality, then we can expect the students' outcome can also be improved as well. But teacher should develop their own competencies for their own development, personal development, as well as a professional well-being. So next, who is the stakeholder in that we are concerned with? Of course, the teacher. The emphasis on teacher is because teacher, because professional learning can be situated in different fields, the professional development and learning can be different. So in this presentation, we're talking about teacher, more specifically foreign language, English language teachers in Vietnam in particular. So that's why we're talking about who here. So now let's move on to the method of the review. If you read the abstract, you see that this is a systematic review. So I follow the preferred report items for systematic review and meta-analysis. In short, it called PRISMA. It's just a checklist that if you are to conduct a systematic review that you should follow, and especially delineating the stages that you follow so that you can have a more rigorous and more systematic review. We'll talk about the PRISMA flowchart later. Yes, moving on to the literature search. We want to search for literature. A number of keywords that were used during the literature searching for professional development, professional learning, Vietnamese EFL teacher, and the National Foreign Languages Project 2020, one of the key projects in our country. And of course, we may use operators such as and or on the research database to extract for more relevant research. The three databases that were used to find the articles and papers that the Scopus, Web of Science, and Google Scholar. And we all know these are the very popular and important databases that we can use to retrieve articles and publications. A number of criteria that are involved in my inclusion criteria, including what we're looking at is we want empirical papers, not conceptual one. I also include book chapters as long as they are empirical. That means reporting on a study, not just theoretical discussion. Published between 2006 and 2020. Well, actually, I did not set a time limit for the search, but the earliest study that I can identify is from 2006. So in this case, I just put 2006 and 2020. Also, we focus on teacher professional development, in particular, not any other areas that we are interested in. So in this presentation, we want to find papers that involve some sort of professional development for teacher. And finally, we want papers that report on the examination of the participants are Vietnamese EFL teachers as participants, not math teacher or other science subject teacher. All right, and finally, we have for the data analysis, we use descriptive and thematic analysis to read through the paper and to try to find the emerging themes from the paper. So again, the PRISMA flowchart that I mentioned, it's basically we want to report on the total number of records that we can retrieve from the databases. In this case, we have 447. And then we remove the duplicate studies, and then we screen the title and abstract for explicitly ineligible paper, that are paper not reporting on professional development of language teacher. And then we are left with a number of papers that meet our criteria, and then we do a full text retrieval of these papers, and then we read through the full text, and then we continue to remove those papers that are ineligible again. And the total papers that are included in the review is 49. But again, the findings from the presentation is already like for literature up to 2019 only. To my knowledge, the current paper that I have found, then that's included in the future papers of this review is already reached somewhere 70 until 2021. So it's pretty fast publication in terms of professional development research. All right, so let's come to the kernel of the presentations, which is what we actually are doing here. So for the overview, as you can see that I have drawn a publication trend. When we look at the chart, we can see that the number of publications on the area of professional development increased steadily and rapidly. if we calculate the 5-year growth rate from 2014 to 2019, it would be 221%. That means the interest in studying teacher professional development in Vietnam is high, and professional development should be still an important area in the upcoming years. All right. For the themes, there are 5 themes that can be conceived from the literature. The first one is teacher cognition. The second one is the program, or the characteristics of professional development program. And then the pedagogy of teacher, the policy, how teacher implement the policy in the classroom is the 4th theme. Finally, we talk about professional learning in context. How teachers develop their professional learning in their own context, probably with their professional development. All right. So for the distribution of the themes, if we look at the numbers of the themes, we can see that the teacher cognition is the dominant theme, with almost 40%. Which I like to remind that the vertical axis is the percent, not the number of publication. It's the percent. All right, and the second popular theme is the program, and the pedagogy, policy, and finally a professional learning in their own context. Now, what about the research design? If we have a look at the research design from the collected paper, we'll see that up to 82% utilize a qualitative research design. This is the dominant way to study professional development. For the mixed method, we see that up to 10.5% utilize the mixed method research. I think this is a good sign because it indicates that the researchers are aware of the need to use a mixed methods research to improve the validity and the reliability and even the generability of the findings. Quantitative research only account for 7.5%. Right, now we will go a little bit deeper, okay? We're going to explore the content of the themes, what in the themes, what have researchers actually investigated in their studies for each theme specifically. And I think it's also important for the audience to know more a little bit about this thing. So let's talk about teacher cognition. What is it? So teacher cognition is a very broad term, and it involves different kinds of sub-concepts, for example, beliefs, perception, attitude, experiences, and so on. When we talk about cognition, we also talk about teacher knowledge. We talk about other terms or associated with cognition, such as identity, emotion, motivation, and also how the teacher believes they actually linked with what they are actually doing in their classroom. So a number of highlights that I think that are important implications that I found from the studies that's investigated teacher cognition is that teacher beliefs can offer powerful insights into various aspects, including their identities, what they practice in their class, and also the situation that they are in. Another interesting findings is that there is potential mismatches between belief and actual practices. That means the teacher may state one thing, but they're actually doing different things. So this indicates a need that we need to also examine the relationship between beliefs and practices rather than solely focus on teacher beliefs. So this is an implication. And also, as we see that teacher cognition is continuing to be complex phenomenon, which is multifaceted and require teacher to examine different aspects of teacher cognition. Right, for the second theme, when we talk about the program, a number of sub-themes can include, including the professional development intervention. The previous researchers can utilize different approaches or training model to help the teacher to develop their competence. For example, carry out a workshop on teacher reflection, carry out training on action research to help teacher, and also different models or approach have also been utilized. For example, peer mentoring, pair placement, and professional learning communities, also one way to support teacher professionally. Teacher education can also be considered a sub-theme in this overarching theme program. For the teacher education, it involved the training of pre-service teacher. The previous researchers have investigated the characteristic of curriculum, teacher education curriculum, also the partnership between university and school. Other themes including the student-teacher experiences when performing their practicum teaching. Some highlights can be seen in these themes that we can use different types of training models that have been proven to be effective to develop pre-service teacher and also in-service teacher professional learning. Also, more support is certainly needed for pre-service teacher in their practicum teaching. For example, we can strengthen the school-university partnership and also create more opportunities for pre-service teachers to carry out the theories that they learned at university when they are in their practicum teaching. The third theme is related to different ways that teacher may improve their classroom teaching method. That scholars have looked at how teachers implement task-based language teaching, TBLT, which stands for task-based language teaching. And also other scholars look at the cultural aspects of language teacher, how they teach culture in the language lesson, and also blended learning and code switching is also other aspect of the pedagogy that have been investigated. For the highlights, the highlight is pretty simple, and I think it's very straightforward. The classroom teaching of how teachers practice their classroom practices is highly contingent on their personal expertise, their beliefs, and their experiences. For the policy, the collective study have looked at how teachers implement the policy in their own context, or the teacher agency in implementing the educational policy at the macro level. And of course, the teacher were found to implement the policy in a different way in their interpretation, in their understanding of the policy. So the implication here is that the role of contextual factors in driving educational policy. The teacher may implement certain practices in their own way of understanding, or because of the contextual factors. So the policy implementation is imbued with the influence of contextual factors. Finally, we come to the last theme in my presentation, that is context-based professional learning, or you can consider it as informal professional learning, however you like. For this group of studies, to look at attention, the challenges, and the contextual factor that actually affect the teacher's practices in their own context. Other topic can be professional legitimacy, for example, that can also be classified into informal professional learning. A number of highlights or implications is that we need to provide teachers with resources to tackle various personal and contextual challenges where they teach. Also, more professional opportunities have also been considered an important way of support teacher. Listening to teacher voice is also very important, because teachers can implement the policy and practice in their own understanding and belief. And informal learning, professional learning is something that we need to look at in the future research. For example, teachers may improve their competency by learning from their friends, their peers, without actually engaging in formal or structured professional development. Finally, some conclusion and implication. The second language teacher professional learning in Vietnam is a rapidly developing research areas. And so far, as I mentioned, there are almost up to 70 studies, and it has generated significant insights for future professional development interventions and research as well. Again, teacher cognition continues to be a dominant research area, and with a strong emphasis on teacher belief. Professional learning for a pre-service teacher should be supported, because they will become in-service teacher one day. And especially we need to create opportunity for them to try out formal knowledge that they learned at university. Large scale and then mixed methods research are particularly encouraged to provide more generalizable findings and also more rigorous findings, both in terms of quantitative and then qualitative. Contextually informed policies are needed because teachers are faced with different local conditions. So if we are to promote the outcomes of the current foreign language reform in Vietnam, then the policy should be made on the awareness of potential differential local conditions that the teacher need to implement this policy. And the references, and this is the references, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Lem, for your insightful presentation. So now we move to the Q&A sessions, and I see a hands raising from Associate Professor Hoa. She want to put a question. So, Chị Hoa, you can unmute, okay?
First, thank you, Luân. And first of all, Len, I would like to say congratulations. You have just presented an outstanding presentation and really, really important, very comprehensive result. I'm very impressed. So congratulations about that, Len. I'm looking forward to read the full paper. That is a fantastic because there hasn't been any kind of systematic literature review about professional development in the context of Vietnam. So that's absolutely very impressive, Len. Just I just say that I enjoy it very much. So my question is not the question, right? It's just the comment that why do you just include the pre-service teacher there as a part of your systematic literature review? Because I guess that like teachers' professional development already, there's a big theme already, big topic already. Yes, so I just wonder about that, but yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Associate Professor Nguyen. Yes, this is something that I need to think about as well, but the initial rationale is so when we talk about professional learning, as I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, it's a very broad term. I see it's a very general term. And if we talk about professional learning and we limit it to in-service teacher, what about pre-service teacher? Are they not doing any form of learning professionally? You know, so that the initial idea is that let's have a look at that. But I agree with you. Both of them, professional development is already a big area, and pre-service teacher is also another big area.
Yes.
So that after this, I have to look at it and look at the data and to see if I really need to include it in or just leave it out. Yeah. But that's a very powerful.
Yeah. So just something that is a big topic. Well, pre-service teacher education already a big topic. But yes, and another minor comment for your future is that like I'm also interested in the theoretical framework on the study used in investigate the teacher. Something that you can report is important as well. Yes. Overall, Len, I'm so impressed and congratulations. That is fantastic study. Yeah.
Thank you for your very kind word. Generous. You were
Thank you, Chị Hoa. So another hands raising from Julie. So Julie, you want to raise questions?
Yes, thank you very much. Mr. Lon lets me to share something. First of all, similar with Ms. Hoa, I also want to say congratulations, Mr. Lem, for very wonderful presentation. I totally agree with you that we need to focus the professional development for teacher. That it look like the foundation for teacher to development. Because I know that in Vietnam, most of teachers just focus in the tip or techniques, but they lack of the theory or strategy or techniques and until tip. So that's why if we focus in the professional development and with the literature review, and I'm very high appreciate you apply the systematic literature review, because that is when we can cover in the database and that it make your research more validity and reliability. I heard you say that you focus in the mixed method in here. So you apply the qualitative and quantitative, right? So I just get that. Maybe you develop the framework and use the same model to test and let's can Can you share something how about the model you want to develop? That is just for the test on English teacher or general teacher? I just want to know more about this. Yeah.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Jivang. You talking about the mixed method model, like what exactly? I'm not really, get the question. Like, can you clarify the model? What do you mean by the model? And
that's in here. If you apply the mixed method, so it means that we first you start in quality or later you quantity and quality depend on you. So you can share with us what the model, for example, exploratory sequential model or explanatory model like this, and we can know how the research result outcome will mean that you attracted to know what the result outcome later. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not really sure I get the complete meaning of the sentence, your question, but the thing I can share is that in terms of the literature review, I'm not actually doing an empirical, mixed methods research right here. Well, it's just a review, and I report on what other researchers have already done. All right. So I'm not really sure that I have a specific mixed method model right here to talk to you, but I myself did conduct study using mixed methods. I study Vietnamese L2 students' motivational orientation and their relation to the second language listening comprehension using mixed method. So the thing is, it's just that I think mixed methods is a good way to capitalize on the strengths and weaknesses of quantitative and qualitative. We all know that we start quantitative with some sort of hypothesis, right? And we use numbers to figure it out how true it is, but then we don't really know why. There's certain correlation for all prediction results. So that's why that's when we start interviewing people and to get more insight into why certain things are related to each other. That's what I did. I'm not sure if it's a model, but I think it's a common sense to capitalize on the strength with the system two approaches. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much for sharing on the best study. Yeah.
Thank you, Lem. And I have collected another 2 questions from Saren and Miss Han. And I'll show here. So it's your turn now. The first one from Saren, in the team of PD, so why ICT skill is not included? And another one from Miss Han. So can you share more about the levels of teachers in your selected research?
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much for your question. I think these 2 questions certainly should be asked because I didn't talk too much about it, but they should be asked. So in the first question, why ICT skill is not included? It is included, but is it not explicitly considered as a separate theme? For example, in my pedagogy theme, I did talk about blended learning, which is one way that one kind of categories that researchers have investigated how teachers implement blended learning in their classroom. Another themes that also involve ICT is that when I talk about professional development, the program and the training approaches, there are different training approaches. For example, using webinars and using all sort of other technology is also included. It is in the program, but yes, I did not separate it as a major overarching theme. But technology is everywhere; it can be in different themes. But yes, I get this is something that I can also consider in the future development of the to make it more explicit in the future revision of what I'm doing here. The second question is that, can you share more about the level of teachers? Yes, definitely. I have the data, and it's just a few code or it's just a few analysis, and it's on there. But the thing is that because of the time constraint, I just wanted to put out, what is more important, what is we can discuss more in the limited time frame of the presentation. But so far, I can tell you is that the teacher professional development in Vietnam tend to be limited to either university teachers or secondary and teacher, high school and elementary teacher are not that much focused in the previous literature. But yes, in the future, if I'm to publish the literature review like this, definitely I will consider putting the chart and the numbers there for you to see what it is. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Lams. Yeah, because due to the limited time, we cannot include all the questions in the Q&A session.
Are you satisfied with Lam's answers?
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you, but you can email the presenter directly. Yeah. On the behalf of VIC 2021, we wish you all the best with the productive day and meaningful rest of our virtual convention. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you very much, everyone.
And we have 10 minutes to